shadcn UI just dropped 7 new components that make building modern UI way faster. Today we are doing practical overview of these components, and just to make everything easy, I created small demo app with 4 pages just to see these components in real flows. We will cover spinner, KBD, button group, input group, field, item, and empty, with a quick pros and cons. Personally, I love to use shadcn UI to spin up quick MVPs. It is powerful, consistent, and let me ship polished UI fast. And by the way, if you want to have full overview of shadcn UI and compare it to another similar tools, I have a video on my channel. I will leave a link to it in the description. And now let's jump into new components. Here is my small demo app created just to present that new components from shadcn UI. So I split everything for 4 pages. The first one is overview, where we have everything together. And as you see, all components, they split it by group, and related to that group I have pages, actions, forms, and lists. And let's start with a quick reference. So all components are self-explanatory actually. So spinner we're gonna use for loading state, KBD for display keyboard shortcuts. Then we have button group and input group, which actually group related actions. And in input group we will have inputs with some add-ons. We will take a look at that. Also, we have fields, just a wrapper, item is going to be reusable list rows, and empty, which is empty state in the app. So now let's take a look one by one to each of these components. And the first thing I want to start with is spinner. Spinner is commonly used across the apps and websites. And actually it's very good addition from shadcn UI. Yeah, we can implement it ourselves. That loading spinner is not super difficult, but of course it's more convenient just to import it and forget about this. Also here we can try and click save changes and see how it works in the button. That looks pretty nice. And it's very important in the app because personally I hate going to the app or website, clicking some actions and seeing that nothing actually happens because state is not shown. And I'm not sure whether there is something loading or not, or it just failed. So that spinner is a good one to have in your UI kit. Then button group, self-explanatory. So this is the way we group button by some related actions. In that example, we have archive, report, and snooze. Also, you can pass there just icons, or you can have that kind of layout with more button. And in that more button, you can have some context menu. That looks nice, clean, probably convenient to implement such a thing, but personally, I don't remember using a button grouping that much in my apps and websites I was working on. By the way, let me know in the comments whether you implemented such kind of things and what was your experience with that. And another thing in this group, keyboard shortcuts, visually consistent shortcut hints. It is good to have, but not so necessary because I believe that is not so commonly used. Personally, I didn't implement that often that shortcut hints in the apps and the websites. So as for me, it's just nice to have. Now let's go to another group, forms. So here we're gonna have field and input group. And the first thing, let's start with the field. Here are 2 examples, manual approach and with field. So manual approach is actually classic approach where we have HTML elements and we have classes assigned to them. So here we have div, label, input, and also we have paragraph, which renders error messages. And on the right side we have field, and as you see, this example looks much shorter. So here we just have field wrapper, and then inside we have field label, input itself, and field message where we render errors. As you see, that code on the right looks more clean and more readable and of course maintainable. Here is some combination of field and input group together along with validation. So if you press here save profile, we get that validation messages. And here you can see already input group in work. So let me go down and explain more about that. Input group update is very useful, I can say. So now we can pass prefix and suffix to the input. And here are examples. So as you see, in the first one, in prefix, we pass protocol and then user just enters domain name, which is pretty convenient. And the second one, we have currency sign on the left, and on the right we have currency abbreviation. And let's take a look at the last one. It's very useful. It's a search input, and in the search input we can pass action button. In this case it is go, it can be search, whatever, but also it can be clear input, which is very useful. Talking about this two field and input group, I think it's a good update in shadcn, so both of them are very useful and I think is gonna be very helpful to develop faster. And last two for today, empty component and item component. Let's take a look more closer to them. So here is the empty component. So basically you can configure whatever empty state you have. So now you can directly import it from shadcn UI components and save time configuring that empty state. Again, I would say it's not a huge win, but still it will save a bit of time. And here is the item component, and here how can we render lists with the item component. So item here as a wrapper, then we have item leading, item content, and item trailing. And here is the explanation that use item leading for consistent avatar sizing, and item trailing keeps actions aligned to the right. This is a brief overview of these components. Now let's go to the documentation and take a look at the API. Let's take a look at a spinner first. To be able to render that spinner, we just need to import it, and that's it. We don't need some extra props here. We just can use it straight away and it will look like that. And let's take a look at the option with the button. So also the same, we just pass in this inside a button as a child component, and it looks like that. But also we can edit the appearance of that spinner, and this is how API looks. So here we can provide our own loader icon. Now let's go to keyboard shortcuts, and to be able to render the signs we need to wrap it in KBD components, and all of this inside KBD group. Now let's take a look at the button group. So here we have different options. We have back button, we have two buttons together, archive and report, and also we have that snooze and button with a context menu. Let's take a look inside. So here we have one wrapper button group, and then inside we have again button group, and inside that button group we have just simple button, and button contains icon. This is that button with the arrow. And here is the button with the context menu. So here we have the just simple button inside that button group, which is snooze. And then we have that drop down menu button. Now let's have a look at the input group, and let's pay attention at that card number, the most interesting one. So here we have input group wrapper. Then inside we have input group input with a placeholder card number. Then we have input group add-on, and inside that add-on we have credit card icon. Then we have another add-on, and here we specify align, inline and we have that check icon here. And in this one we have star and info icon in the end. So that's how we do it. We just need to use that input group add-on component, and then we need to pass align, inline and inside we have these two icons. And by the way, here is that example with the protocol. So here how it looks. So we have input group add-on, then we have input group text, and we specify that protocol. This is a quick example how field is configured. This one we already overviewed. Let's take a look at the item, and let's take a look at this example. So here we have that wrapper item, and then inside we have item media, where we have avatar image and avatar fallback. Then we have item content and item actions. So avatar, content and actions. And finally empty component. That's how we configure that. We have here empty wrapper, and then inside that wrapper we have empty media, and inside that media we can pass icon for our empty state. Then we have empty title, empty description and empty content. And in this example, inside the empty content there is a button placed. And let's take a look at the code of this one. Here we have empty wrapper, then we have empty header. Inside the header we have that icon, title and description. Then we have empty content with the buttons to create project or import project. And also we have button in the end with learn more content. Here are some other examples. It can look like that, or 404 page, you can configure it like that. And that's it. How do you like these components? Do you find them useful? Let me know in the comments. Also share your thoughts in general about shadcn. How do you like it? How do you use it? And also you can share even your projects. I really would love to hear your opinion, and I think it's gonna be very important to other developers. I hope this video was useful to you. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.